Good afternoon, everyone. I see a Kapil Arora on behalf of Committee of Member in Practice. Welcome you all. Our today's session is Accounting, Outsourcing and Opportunities for CAs in Practitioners. And our today's eminent speaker is Arsha Ramnani ma'am. Ma'am is a fellow member of Institute of Chartered Accountant of India. And ma'am is also a social auditor, first social auditor from Rajasthan. Ma'am has done many big projects with many leading institutes, many firms. Further, ma'am is also over 12 years of post-qualification experience. Ma'am is also a registered valuer. And I am deliberately sure that we will much benefited by this fruitful session. Over to Arsha.
Thank you so much, Kapil Arora, and thank you so much, Committee of Member in Practice and the team of Committee of Member in Practice for giving me this opportunity. So I hope my voice is clearly audible to all of you. And let me first share my screen so that that can be tested as well first. So I think this is also visible. Just give me thumbs up, yes, no.
Am you visible?
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So today's topic is a prominent topic for all of us, and being a chartered accountant, we all are looking for something new for all of us where we can have a promising career in terms of practice. We can have a promising opportunities for all of us. And when it's come to the outsourcing activities or outsourcing opportunities, डॉलर में पैसा आए किसको अच्छा नहीं लगता. So this is something very attractive for all of us, and today in next 2 hours very specifically we are going to discuss that what kind of the outsourcing opportunities we are having and which is waiting for all of us, how we can grab that and how we can prepare ourselves for that kind of the opportunities. The focus will be very specifically for practitioners and how we can start building ourselves in terms of capacity building, being a chartered accountant, practicing chartered accountant, to be prepare ourselves for outsourcing opportunities. So the first step, if I talk about what is the first step to get an outsourcing opportunity is, because opportunity will never ask you whether I should come to you or I should go to somewhere else. It can knock your door anytime, any minute, and probably you need to be prepared anytime for your opportunity. And how you can prepare for the opportunity, you should be always ready with your profile, that what kind of the exposure you are having with your previous engagements, with your previous experience. So this is something for all of you, just as a brief about as a profile. We should always have a handy of the profile first of all, where what exactly a kind of experience you are having should elaborated in one slide. What kind of the work exposure you are having in your past experience, that should be given. This should also have a link of your LinkedIn profile, because when we are talking about outsourcing opportunities, overseas outsourcing opportunities, your social media profile, which is the professional social media profile, is also having an importance. So that is the reason your LinkedIn profile link should also be there. So you can see on a screen, I will show you two slides here. First slide, which is having your personal details in terms of your qualification, your contact details, your professional profile, which gives the complete detail about your experience, about your professional background, and what kind of the industries you have served, what kind of the areas you have served, in very specifically, very specifically, which particular countries you are having as exposure. The last line, if you can see here, the countries exposure. So that countries exposure is very mandatory in your profile when we are talking about outsourcing opportunities. kind of the countries where you are having experience in past. The number of countries you will add in your profile, the number of opportunities will knock your door. And I understand that it is not possible from day one to have a list of countries, but slowly, gradually, you can add the countries in your profile by having few engagements, by having a few associations in a different engagement, and that will give more advantage to your profile. Second important aspect, when you are in a mid age of your professional career, like I already spent my 10 years, good 10 years in a professional career, and now more than 14 years of experience I'm having as a chartered accountant. So more or less, all kind of the work I have done in past, which is having a variety of the areas. It's not necessarily that only taxation part I have done, only VAT part I have done, or something like that. So more variety in your profile, more engagement you can attract. So try to add as much as variety in your profile, because that will give more advantage being a leader of your organization, being a leader of your own office, and that will give more confidence to the client that okay, your team can execute the particular engagement. So on the left side of the screen right now, you can see here that the kind of work exposure your organization can provide is something which is uh, uh, something that you need to add here. Then something more you can add about your credentials, membership, and the clientele, which deliberately I have removed because this I cannot share on the screen. Now what normally we can discuss here, like exactly what is the accounting outsourcing or preparation of effective outsourcing contract. Other part that we are going to discuss is more about documentation related to the export entrepreneurship and what are the benefits and the problem which is associated with the accounting outsourcing. So these are the 4 pointers which we are going to discuss, and which is something we are going to understand in next 2 hours. So when I'm saying accounting outsourcing, so it is something which is very common. And being a chartered accountant, we all are very much familiar that when we are working as a chartered accountant, when we are saying that we are a chartered accounting is something which is already in our blood and heart, and we all are understand that this is something which is very easy. And whenever it comes to start with the overseas opportunity, this is something a very easy area where we want to start our practice. So that is the reason whenever it comes to the overseas opportunities, we always wanted to start with the accounting part. Second important reason why we want to start with the accounting part, it is the reason that accounting is same in all over the world. The 3 golden rules are same, the debit credits are same, and there is no change in terms of debit credit, where if you talk about US, if you talk about UK, if you talk about Australia, or any particular country, if you talk about Middle East, or maybe any particular country wherever you want to work. So that is the reason accounting is always on top of the talk. Second important aspect, that can be done online very easily. There is no need of presence available offline, or physical presence is required to be accounting needs to be done on online. Now softwares are also available which is on cloud base, which is connected with the bank accounts, and which is making our life more easier, where all maximum bank entries are being posted in the books directly. Just we need to see and we need to confirm whether the entry which is being captured by the system is correct or not correct, or required any other particular correction. So whenever we think about to start about accounting outsourcing practice, it's normally start with the bookkeeping process. Second step normally come as a payroll system. Financial analysis then comes as a later stage, offering business and other opportunities to focus on a core activity. So this is something, a reason that why we offer these services to clients, that so that they can make their focus on the core activities of their business, and these other relevant activities we can take care of that. Why they will hire us as an expert, why they will prefer us as an expert, only one aspect that we can give them as an expert, that we will be more proactive and we will follow the approach which is called as a no surprise approach. So being an expert in accounting field, being an expert in a finance field, we normally considered being a proactive person which understand all government regulations, which understand all financial regulations, and update the clients on a proactively basis. Second, whatever the impact that we are foresee in terms of updation in the regulations, updation in the financial aspects, we give updates on clients on a regular basis, so there is no surprise for them in terms of they were not aware about that this is something going to be happened. So that type of the best practices which normally we can provide to the client, and that is the reason they prefer outsourcing of the accounts. They prefer to outsource their accounts to the expert like us, being a chartered accountant, and we can be a good partner for them in their business activities. Whenever someone is thinking to outsource their activities, there can be a few options which they can think about. One option can be end-to-end finance and the accounting function, where the complete finance section they can outsource to a particular organization or to a particular entity without distributing particular section to the different entities. There can be a scenario where a particular process they will outsource to us, or they will outsource a particular section to us. For example, only a payroll process they are outsourcing to a particular entity, or maybe the banking function, or maybe the record to report function. So these are the only single process which they want to outsource. Other aspect also can be where a interim financial control support or a loan staffing support can be required. So I'm not sure how many of you experienced or not. Many times we have seen requirements where organization are looking for the resource or looking for the support staff for a particular period, for say 2 months, 3 months, or 6 months. And for that, they generally do not wanted a people who are looking for a job. They prefer people who are in practice, who can run their practice, and just they can provide their 3 hour or 4 hour or 5 hours in a day to update their interim financials or to update their accounts on a regular basis. So generally in the month of February or January, you will find that type of the requirement modes where the accounts closure requirements are there. Fourth requirement can be the physical verification of the inventory and the fixed asset. Again, these type of the requirement comes on the year-end basis, but depends on the country. Year-end can be the different, where the calendar year is being followed as a year-end. So these requirement normally comes in October and November, and whereas normally we have a year-end of financial year, so that kind of the requirement come in January or February. So when physical verifications come, so for that again they need a staff, they need a team, and for that engagement they normally prefer to engage a particular CA firm or chartered accountants who can conduct a verification exercise very effectively, because we understand the importance of the physical verification. We understand all the formulas, all the methods to conduct a physical verification. I'm sure everyone is aware about tag to floor, floor to tag methods, when to apply tag to floor, when to apply floor to tag, and how reconciliation should be there. Now, when the rules are being changing in terms of the ESG environment, geotagging is again very much important, because if you are applying for the EPR compliance, so in that case geotagging is must. So now these days, whenever the fixed asset physical verification is being requested by the companies, they are specifically asking for the geotagging, because Pollution Control Board department is asking for the geotagging of their premises, their plant and machinery. So in that case, we can be a good partner for them because we understand what kind of the requirement can become from a different regulations. Any question, Kapil, from any of the participant side? So, why KPO services? Why anyone will prefer us being a chartered accountant firm or being a KPO firm? So, the simple reason first is cost saving. Wherever the company will see the saving in cost, they will prefer us. And here, we being a KPO partner, we are transforming their fixed cost into the variable cost because we are not going to sit permanently in their premises. We are transforming their fixed cost into a variable cost part. So that this is something a first benefit which every company see, and that is the reason they wanted to outsource their accounting functions to the different CA firms. Second, reducing space at the client workspace. So again, infrastructure cost saving part is there, decreasing investment in the IT infrastructure. So more or less all the saving part is there where the client is saving a lot on infrastructure part, IT infrastructure, normal infrastructure. Again, their employee cost, everything is there, and that is the reason they normally prefer to outsource. Managing the staff is again a cumbersome task, and where not necessarily that every time they will get a good resource. Whereas if they outsource the complete function, they can rely on the CA firm, they can rely on us, and where the service will be more better probably, and we normally being do the function more digitally, more effectively rather than to other particular staff. Because I think you all understand that whenever we hire a particular staff, monitoring is required. And if the businessman or owner of the business is going to monitor, so obviously they are giving certain time to monitor the staff as well. Second important aspect or the benefit that we can have is the process standardization. So on a initial stage, whenever the business is starting or a mid stage business is starting, this is something which normally is not there, is a absence of SOP. I hope you also have experienced that normally till the date businesses approximately 500 CR or 1000 CR, they are not having a standard operating procedure. It is normally being owner driven company, and there is no particular decentralization or a standard operating procedure for each process. Whereas whenever the function is being outsourced to us, we normally prefer to have a standard procedure. And whenever we start the functioning with the organization, we prefer to have a process in place. We give the process to them and let them know that this is something we are going to follow, and you need to understand that why it is important. So from day one, we start process standardization, which is a good practice for a business. So this is a benefit again. And third is flexibility, where business is somewhere giving a burden, their accounting burden or a process burden to us, workload is being outsourced to us, they are more focused to their business, they have a flexibility to change their current process wherever they want to change something from option A to option B or maybe option C, they can change based on the discussion. So that flexibility is always there. The global response, quick implementation of the new services is always a beneficial. Greater control is also there. So because of the SLA, which is a service level agreement, they always in a benefit where the control is there. Whenever there is an issue, there is a quick and efficient response from our side. There is a specific criteria hierarchy that normally we maintain, and accordingly, better experience is something that we can provide to the business. And last and but not the least, improved decision making, which is allowing client to focus on the core business, where they can focus more on the business, they can earn more on the business, and their resources may be available for the more on the business activity, and their other activities can be outsourced to us to manage effectively. Now, when we understand that how it is effective for the organization or a business, and probably now we are in position to make them understand that how we are going to be a good partner for them, what exactly it's needed for the KPO, or how you can set up the same, and how you can start your journey. So first of all, whenever we are thinking for the outsourcing activities or overseas outsourcing, important for all of us is experienced team. You need to first decide that what kind of the service you want to provide. There is an n number of the list of the services which is available in the market, and that for available in the market means which is requirement in the market, which is you can provide as an organization. But for that, you need an experienced team. For example, if I talk about currently, ESG, I hope everyone has heard the term, which is environmental, social, and governance. This is something a global requirement. Everyone wants to implement the same in their organization, and it is something a part of business mandatorily. And there are very few resources. When I say very few resources, very limited resources are there who can actually help businesses to implement ESG within their organization. So if you wanted to provide that kind of the services, first you need to understand that whether you are having an experienced team or not. And when I'm saying that, yes, I am having experienced team, we need to see and understand whether the experience of my team is for the relevant particular industry or across the industry. For example, if I am having a ESG experience, so my experience is more in textile industry and not for other industry. So if any particular textile industry will come, it is easy for me to provide a services. But if other than textile industry is coming, it is very difficult for me to provide a services. So this is something we need to understand, and accordingly we need to start working on our profile, that this is the list of services which we can provide as an organization. This is something where we have a team of professionals. Other part is you can list the services, and accordingly you can hire the team of professional. But for overseas opportunities, team of the professional is must. Here you cannot do the trial and error run. That okay, let's start with engagement. If it will not happen, we'll do the best on next engagement, because if you will not perform on first engagement, it will be very difficult for us to get a next engagement, because your first engagement will damage your reputation online, and it will impact to get a next engagement. So experienced team is most important criteria, where your team will help you to get more engagements. Second, significant functional and industry expertise. When you are hiring your team, when you are making a composition of your team, you need to see that what is the composition we are having in an organization. It should be different domain, it should be across the industry, different sector should be there, and multiple industries coverage should be there. And we can also opt in for the collaborative engagement model, where focus should be what matters by leveraging the objectivity, deep subject matters knowledge, and we can think about what particular business benefit we want to achieve. So most important aspect is here your team by which you can provide your services. This is service industry which is completely driven by your team. Your other infrastructure, your office, other things are not much relevant because you are working online. If your team is very good, which is effectively and properly working from home as well, that is more than sufficient. But your team is not effectively working from office itself also, so your lavish office will also not work, and it will damage your reputation. So, how to start? So, whenever you are thinking to start your outsourcing activity and you want to start with your first engagement, how we can start with? So, first start normally, what normally I suggest to everyone is we should start with the startups, because startups are on early stage and this is something where we can have a good start, because uh, out of 10 startups, if two or three startups are also working very fine from these startups, we will also grow, and these startup will give us more publicity in the market that we are partner with them in their journey, in their success journey, and they will give us more client. And how we can start, we can work with them. So with the terms of a startup, we can help them in terms of bank and credit card reconciliations, because normally they don't have their own separate accounts. Normally they can have, but normally when they are in a startup stage, they are on a seed stage, they generally spend from their own accounts, their own credit cards, and they generally want the reconciliation on a regular basis. They also wanted to have a data entry on a regular basis so that their business expenditures and their personal expenditure should be separated. Payroll journal entries also, because they have a very limited resources, they have a very limited employees, so they want that kind of the support as well from a consultant side. Timesheet entries for the payroll. So on initial stage, they cannot afford any online system or an online payroll management system. So Excel based template or maybe manual system, they want it from our side, where their whatever the employees they are having, 4, 5 or 10, we manage their timesheet and accordingly we run their payroll management. Then monthly inventory reconciliation. So again, because of the initial stage, they wanted us to keep their inventory on an Excel basis, where whatever the in out of inventory based on purchase and sales invoices, that reconciliation we need to do, and accounts receivables based on the invoicing and the bank account, this is something they want as a support. So overall, we need to manage their bank accounts, we need to manage their employees, and we need to manage their sales and purchase. If all these systems we manage, startups normally being happy with our services, and this is something, there is no much investment from our side is needed. You can do this a simple Excel templates, you can do this with a simple accounting software which you are normally using for your own purpose. So normally in startup cases, they even probably sometimes are not being in position where they want to invest on a separate license of the accounting as well. So they wanted to keep their accounts on your accounting system. So accordingly, you may charge your fees and you may think how to operate that. Second stage comes as a growing stage, where a startup has now started growing and their business is now on a certain scale part, where they wanted your support as a daily accounting management system. And now they wanted someone from your side who sit on their place on a regular basis and manage their accounts on a regular basis. They also wanted a keep eye on the legal issues, because when they are growing, there will be certain legal issues that can come to in as a surprise, or maybe that they wanted to understand, because on initial stage obviously there are very few legal things that they need to understand, but on a later stage, based on the state, based on the country where they are operating, legal issues can come up. So just a very small case which I wanted to share with all of the participants. So there was one startup which was working, and they just pick up one normal logo on a online, just on a searching on Google, and they just pick up a particular logo and they started using that logo on their invoicing purpose. They were not aware about that the particular logo is a trademark logo of a US entity. So they were using that, and that was happening somewhere through LinkedIn or maybe on any other social media platform. That company uh, is get to know that their logo is being used by the another entity. So they filed a legal suit against a company. They get a legal notice, and there is no particular ground on negligency or something like that. We are not aware about that it is a trademark logo or something like, and anything relaxation that we were not aware about the same. And they agreed that this is a mistake from our side, and they agreed that okay, we will pay the compensation, which was $7,500 agreed between both the parties. When they agreed on the compensation, at that point of time, again, the company has not involved someone which is, understand the legality and understand that how to take care of the matter. So when time came for the payment, uh, now the payment is going outside India. And when the payment is going outside India and it in the form of compensation, TDS liability will come or not? Answer is yes, TDS liability will come. Now the company, the US company is saying our compensation is decided $7,500. So we wanted a $7,500 as a full amount of compensation. If there is any tax liability, it is on up to you and you will bear the cost. We will not bear the cost. In that case, if someone which understand all these compliances, legal compliances was in the case, in that point of time, the agreement is being reviewed by someone or is being drafted by someone who understand, probably add the clause that this 7,500 includes any TDS liability or a legal compliance liability on a US company side. But it was not included in the later agreement. So the Indian company needs to bear that cost as well. So that is the reason small things many times is being a hard cost for us, and importance of a person who understand the law is being understand by the company in a hard manner. Then manage emails and mails, up to date records, invoice management, communicate daily, inventory management, etc. These are the things that we can manage on a regular basis. Once the organization is established, everything is there, then they need a full-fledged service from our side where a complete bookkeeping and accounting services is required, tax preparation services required, audit service is required. For obvious, we will not be a part of that audit service, because if we are a part of preparation, we cannot be a part of audit service part. Payroll process is required, where now you can take help of any online software services. AR AP management services is required, virtual assistant services, and the communicate daily, where you can actually help business to grow more, because now you also understand the business, because you are a part of the business from day one, and you can help them to grow business more effectively, and you can make them more you can help them to grow more effectively and more fast manner. So these are few services which you can provide very effectively to the organization. We have seen in past where many of the organizations started with the startups, and now they are actually a part of these organization, managing from start to end everything, and deployed their maximum staff in an organization. So this is something, a kind of opportunity, being a CA firm or being a overseas opportunity, something you can explore as per your interest. Kapil, any particular query or something which you can find?
No, ma'am, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
No particular queries there.
So generally, when I talk about accounting outsourcing, these are the three common options which comes in mind. First is the operational accounting, where as a chartered accountant, we normally help in ARAP, which is average receivable, average payables, then payroll expenses, and a report preparation. Important aspect when we are talking about overseas accounting. So the terminology which generally we use with the Indian clients, we also need to update the same because here we use debtor creditors, cash, bank, etc. Whereas if I talk about overseas accounting, the terminology that normally we use is average receivable, average payables, record to report, order to cash, procurement to pay, hire to retire. So these are few processes which terminology you need to make yourself more familiar. You need to regularly use because they understand these type of the process more easily rather than the Indian terminology that we use in our regular day-to-day activity. Second aspect, which is again important, the journal and management accounts, where the reconciliation, journal entries, bookkeeping, and a compliance, we can be a good part of that, which is normally a monthly closing system where we do certain reconciliations for the company, for the certain journal entries that we need to pass to close the monthly books of accounts, complete bookkeeping system where whatever the statutory reports are required that normally we prepare and maintain for the company, and whatever the compliances are required for filing certain returns, whether it is for state or federal or maybe any other compliance that normally we can do for the company. Last is something which is very near to heart for all the chartered accountants, which normally we enjoy being a chartered accountant. So financial reporting, and for that, very specifically, you should be more comfortable with IFRS and US GAAP and analysis of cash flow and a fund flow and a budgeting and a virtual CFO. So when I talk about financial reporting, in IFRS, there are various developments which we can see on a regular basis. For example, uh, IFRS insurance contract recently is being announced, and right now what I have seen that being a chartered accountant, probably we are least interested to understand what exactly that insurance contract IFRS is being stating and what exactly it is being wanted as a update. Whereas IT companies are more reading that standard and they wanted to create certain tools which can help all the organization to make their accounts more easier in terms of insurance. We should take initiative more. So that is something where we can have more interest. Similarly, IFRS 18 is also coming on year 2025, where the presentation of the financial statement will be little bit changed, and there will be few changes that we will see in a financial statement. Again, because as I said, ESG, so now there are complete financial statement presentation will again be changed based on the ESG requirement as well. So IFRS recently is issued two standard, which is requirement of the ESG presentation, which is S1 and S2. These standards were issued on 1st January 2024. So if you understand these two standards, believe me, there are very few resources which is available in the market who understand the S1, S2, and the huge opportunities from a market because obviously every company needs a presentation. Every company needs to make a presentation of their ESG initiatives, their ESG requirement. So if you understand that what exactly IFRS is expecting in terms of presentation, you can have a good opportunities from a market. So on a 3 point, we have a very good opportunities. We just need to pick up a particular set of standard where we want to do a master's, where we want to present ourselves as an expert. If you are very good in terms of fund flow analysis, cash flow analysis, or budgeting, again, you have a very good opportunity. Just a very good hand on an Excel and good understanding of the budgeting. You have a very good opportunities and a virtual CFO which can understand all the aspect of the business. Huge opportunities for all of us. So this is something we can create our service portfolio when you think about for the outsourcing activities. So one can set up a India knowledge and a capability center. This is something idea that I am just floating to all of you. You can think about any other idea as well. But being an Indian chartered accountant, I just thought to give float an idea like this. So you can think more or like the same, that what kind of how we can market ourselves, and we can provide our service as a accounting outsourcing not only for the global market, even for the domestic market as well, because now in India also there are many companies who are very open to outsource their accounting functions to the CA firms. So not necessarily that you only look for the US market, UK market, Australia market, or any other particular market. It is open even in the India market as well. So you can think about the combination of domestic as well as the global market. These are the key overseas opportunities for accounting outsourcing, which we can offer as an expert. First, normally being start as online cloud-based or offline accounting process, which is easy to start. Second is accounts payable process outsourcing, which normally we call it as a procure to pay, which is very specific process. Then accounts receivable process outsourcing, which is record to report, bank reconciliations, month-end, year-end accounting outsourcing, which is near to me. So there can be options where you can help organizations in terms of closing their accounts on month-end basis or a quarter-end basis, half-year-end or a year-end basis. So there are MNCs which require your expertise on a regular monthly basis. So Vodafone, I think you all have heard the name of Vodafone, and they are having offices all over different countries, and they regularly need the loan staffing for their monthly closing of accounts, so that they can close their accounts on IFRS basis on a monthly basis and consolidate at a same time. Statutory compliances, payroll outsourcing activities, employee reimbursement, management reports, other accounting processes, etc. So this is just a list where you can start. There can be more other services which you can provide based on your expertise, based on your experience. You can also provide trade remedy practices if you have experience to handle the cases. As I said, if you have a experience of ESG services, so that service can also be provided. If you have experience of valuation services, so valuation services is also having a very good market globally, where ample of the opportunities are there. So you can have a different domain in your organization, and accordingly you can make a different composition of the services which you can provide to your clients. And when you make a complete set of service, so this is how you can make a set of services. Like just for example here I will give you, which is a common example. So if I talk about payroll management services, so if I'm saying that this is something as a payroll management services I will provide to my clients, what exactly in payroll we will provide? We will run weekly, fortnightly, or monthly payroll as per the client requirement. We will generate the pay slips. We will calculate the accurate pay days for the clients, vacation, sick pay tracking, end of the service entitlement and calculation. By reading these points, it is probably we are finding this very simple. But when it's come to implement for the organization, it is actually a tedious task. Reading all these 5 pointers is easy, but implementation of these 5 pointers is tedious. Tedious means it's not easy to deal with the employees with their regular requirements, with their different tantrums, and with their different, reasons. So there can be a situation where you find yourself difficult to handle 20 or 25 employees even for organization, whereas you can have a multiple engagements where you need to handle employees with a number of 100, 200 or a 500. So this is how, when you are planning to provide payroll management services, always understand that your fee structure or your remuneration structure will be based on number of employees you are servicing. It will not be a consolidation basis, it will be on number of employees you are servicing. You can give a cap of a particular number of employees or a particular number of hands, for example up to 20 employees or up to 50 employees or 100 employees, but a consolidated number cannot be quoted for this kind of service. Second type of service is very common service, which is bookkeeping service. So here again, when I talk about bookkeeping, which type of the services normally we include in bookkeeping? So it includes setup of chart of accounts, categorization of income expenditure, APAR management, then cash reconciliation, bank reconciliation, preparation of the journals for the month end, inventory management, payroll transaction recordings, revenue reconciliation with the bank deposits, managing the multi-currency accounts, then trial balance finalization and performing the year-end closings. So this is how you need to make your client understand that bookkeeping doesn't mean only posting entries. It is start from setup of chart of accounts, which is again a kind of task, because without a chart of accounts you cannot start your activity. Then categorization of your income and expenditure, because if you don't have a categorization, because the benefit where we started, why someone will prefer us, because we work with a standard operating procedure with standardization. If I will not work with the standardization, there will be no difference between me and their employees who are working in a organization. So that differentiation we need to always understand and we need to provide in our service. Kapil, any query?
Not a specific query right now, but I have 2, 3 questions. Can take right now or at the end?
We can take right now.
Is I am audible?
Yeah, you are audible. We can take right now.
First query is someone has asked what are the key qualifications and certifications required to pursue accounting opportunities overseas? Any specific qualification and certifications are required or not?
So for accounting opportunities in overseas, there is no specific set of qualification we needed if we are already a chartered accountant, because being a chartered accountant, we are obviously having a higher qualification, and which is obviously globally recognized qualification. So for specifically accounting part, there is no need of any other set of qualification that we needed. But if you talk me about a specific domain like valuation or ESG or a trade remedy practices, so in that type of the services, you need a separate qualification based on the requirement.
Next one is how do accounting standards and practices differ between countries, and how can accountants adapt to these differences?
So, if I talk about US or normally the other countries, IFRS are the general standards which is being followed by the countries. And if I differentiate the IFRS with accounting standard or now Ind AS, so accounting standards are something which is on historical cost convention basis. Whereas if we read the IFRS, it is more on fair valuation basis. Now, if we see the Ind AS also, so on it many places India is also talk about the fair valuation, but still considering the Indian circumstances, most of the places the fair valuation we keep it as a footnote or as a presentation part. Somewhere accounting part is not considered as a fair valuation, we are still taking as a cost part only. IFRS is mostly on the fair valuation. So if you understand the fair valuation concept, somewhere it will be very easy for you to understand the IFRS. More or less, not much differences now there in between IFRS and Ind AS. So if you are familiar with the Ind AS, you are more or less familiar with the IFRS. And when you start working with IFRS engagements, gradually you will start reading the IFRS also, and you will understand more that exactly what is the expectation.
Next one is what are the common challenges accountants face when working overseas, and how can they effectively overcome them?
So major challenges, one challenge is the time zone, where first of all we need to manage that how we make ourselves comfortable to work in their time zone, or make our client comfortable to work in our time zone. Because if it is a US client, so it is when it's our day, their night, or when it's their day, our night. So that first of all we need to manage. Second is the language part, where we need to make ourselves comfortable to understand, although this is something I don't consider as a hurdle, because right now we all are more comfortable with all kind of the accent and everything, so that can be managed. Third important aspect which I want to share is with it, time positivity. Like when you are working with any of the overseas client, it is something which I experienced, that if you have committed to them that this is something we deliver to you on this Saturday, so they wanted a delivery on Saturday, or if you are not able to deliver them on Saturday, at least they want a communication from our side that delay is being happening, and reason of the delay is this particular one, two, or three, whatever. So that clear communication they needed from our side, because here the culture is different in India, and the other countries the culture is different. So that cultural difference is something that we need to take care.
Uh, Next question is how can what do what role do languages still play in securing and performing accounting jobs in non-English speaking countries?
Sorry, non.
What role do languages still play in securing and performing accounting jobs in non-English speaking countries?
That is actually difficult one, because the countries where the who are not prefer to speak in English. They normally don't prefer even consultant or any other staff who is not more familiar with their uh, own language. So in that case, if we are familiar with their language, then only we can have certain engagements. Otherwise, it will be difficult to get. So I hope you are aware that recently Institute also run few certificate courses for the French or Japanese language, because these are the countries where they prefer to, communicate in their own language more. And if we talk about Middle East, so they wanted people more who understand the Arabic. So in these are the few countries where you find more difficulty. And if you know their language, then only you can get a engagement. Otherwise, little bit difficult. So
Okay.
better to learn their language if you want to get a engagement. Otherwise, forget them.
Next one is what are the initial steps for setting up an accounting practice in a foreign country?
That means you to set up an office in a foreign country.
Yeah. What are the initial steps for setting up accounting practice in foreign country, not office? I think someone has asked regarding online overseas work or work on cloud, something like that.
Initial step can be, first we need to start, no, we should have our service portfolio with us, what kind of the service we want to provide. Then we want to start market ourselves, that these kind of the service we can provide. There are different platforms where you can market and network. There are certain global networks actually for the accountants, where you can be a part and you can have a good opportunities. Like MGI is one of the global network which is providing a good opportunities, and where you can be a partner with different countries, and you can have a good opportunities of the accounting outsourcing work. So that kind of the events and the networking events can be a good source to get a engagements. Without meeting people, without engaging yourself with a different networking event, it will be difficult to get a engagement. There are many places where people say that through online platform like Upwork or other we can get an engagement, but initially the journey is very tough. Through LinkedIn or Upwork, it is very difficult to get an engagement until unless you have a very good visibility. So to get a visibility, initially you need to meet more and more people. You need to attend a more networking events, which is happening globally. And after that only you will start getting a engagement.
As
If
and
you
when
can,
I receive more questions, we'll ask further.
yeah, if you can get your organization affiliated with any of the global accounting firms, so that will give more opportunity to your organization to get a engagement through their affiliation. These are two more examples of the service portfolio which you can design for your organization. Like if you want to provide a CFO services or the management account services, so this is something you can consider where the prepare monthly or a weekly management accounts on a spreadsheet with management commentaries, which includes normally the financial analysis, modeling, key performance indicators, cash flow management, budgeting, forecasting, intercompany charges, reconciliation, accruals, prepayment schedules, variance reports, specific reports as and when requested. This is something which is expected being a CFO services, because management can request you in type of comparison. Sometimes they want to compare their production with this type of column. Sometimes they want to compare the sales with this type of column. So that all comparison they wanted ready-made and handy. So you should be more comfortable with the spreadsheet, and you should make data readily available as and when they wanted. Just you need to put certain formulas and the reports are ready to produce. Process management is something which is very service where expertise is required, and this is something which is we can only be provided if you are having a very good understanding of the particular industry or a business, because here we are talking about managing end-to-end business processes. And when I'm talking about end-to-end business processes, I can be a good in terms of business process of a particular industry. I cannot say that I am good in procure to pay for in type of the industry, whether it is automobile, whether it is banking, whether it is textile, whether it is hospital, whether it is hotel, whether it is any kind of the industry. So here you need to be very clear that when I'm talking about process management, of which particular industry or the two, three industries where you find yourself more comfortable based on your experience, you can provide your services. So the processes where you can provide like process procure to pay, you can help them order to cash, record to report. Strategic objectives can be there where they can ask you to prepare a flow chart. We can also provide them an innovative or focused solution for their client, helping them to outsource their non-core functions. So these are something which you can, add function in your kitty and let them allow to focus on their core activities. Whenever we are giving them idea that these are the services which we will handle, always mention that what will be the key benefits that they will get from the services which they are outsourcing to us. Because till the time you will not explain the client that these are the benefits you will get, client will not be convinced with you, and everyone wants more from the services. So this is something we need to understand. We need to start explaining to the client. This is a implementation process of accounting outsourcing, how you can implement. So first is onboarding procedure. Whenever the client is coming to you, first define a clear onboarding procedure for a smooth integration, how you will onboard them, provide them comprehensive documentation outlining your organization policy, procedure, and the expectation. So that should be ready, handy with you, and assigned a dedicated onboarding team to facilitate communication and support during the transition period. Many times we do this mistake that when initially client is coming to us and it's a time when we need to send them letter of engagement, or we need to send them the mandate, and we need to sign the NDA, we are not taking it timely basis and delay is happening. So that delay should not happen. When you are done with your discussion, when you are closing the engagement and client is asking for the mandate, engagement should be sent within 1 or 2 days with a clear scope of work, with a clear outline of the requirements and the team who is going to help the client, and everything other things which is required to be written on a letter of engagement. With letter of engagement, transition plan should be there, which should have outlining on timelines, milestones, responsibilities from both sides, which is business and the outsourcing partner. We also need to identify the key stakeholders and establish the line of communication to ensure coordination and the collaboration through transitions, and define clear scope of work, deliverables, and the performance metrics. Here, deliverables are most important because till the time you will not mention that what will be the tangible deliverable. Without tangible deliverable, client will not understand the importance of our services. If you are posting the entries, if you are executing the payroll for the client, you need to send a list of payroll which you have executed. If you will not send that Excel to the client, they will not understand that you have executed the payroll. So that tangible deliverable should be always sent to the client, and they should it should be seen to them. Training requirement. So, and this is something again we should be very clear that whenever you are onboarding the client, first let them understand that what is your policies procedure, and your team also needs to understand what is the client policies and procedures. Based on that, you can conduct a training for both side of the teams. What is your expectation from client side and what is client expectation from your team sides. You can provide a combined training session to familiarize both the teams, to familiarize the accounting softwares, to familiarize the other tools and processes which you are going to use. And you can always encourage for the open communication and the feedbacks for the areas where you find improvements and you want to optimize the effectiveness. These are the few best practices for effective accounting outsourcing, which we can use always. First important aspect is clear communication channel. So as I said previously, I think Kapil was asking one question, what is the normally challenges that we face? So clear communication channel is important here. A written communication channel is important and regular communication is important. So always make sure that you make a clear communication with a client. If because of certain reason your team is not able to perform a particular task, make a clear communication. If they are on leave, make a clear communication. It doesn't mean that you are not informing them or you are not making them aware that from this date to this date, team is not available. So that clear communication is required. Channel should be clear. It should be, preferred communication channel is email, but there can be other mode. These days we are using WhatsApp as well. So WhatsApp groups can be there, Skype can be there, Zoom meetings can be there. So there can be a number of channels. Frequency can be decided. Scheduled meetings can be there where weekly calls or fortnightly calls for the updates can be there. Regular performance review. So that periodic performance review is again something preferred in terms of accounting outsourcing, where they want to evaluate our performance with respect to the adherence of SLA. So SLA is something, a benchmark for all of us. Normally, whenever the SLA is being executed, there are certain KPIs which is being set to measure our track record or a track performance. So that KPIs we need to take care, the accuracy of that KPIs we need to take care. We should always need to use a feedback form for the performance review, so that you can always use, you can encourage your team also to take a regular feedback. Third most important aspect is data security protocol. In accounting outsourcing, the most important aspect or the most challenging area is security protocol. They are always afraid of that we are sharing our data through a email or a Dropbox or Google Drive, whether our data is secured or not. Think about the situation from a US to India, they are sending data, whether data is secured or not. So they wanted to understand that what kind of the data security measures we are having within our organization. They also wanted to execute a data security agreement that we will not misuse their data, because these days we all know that how data is being used in a different manner. So there are certain things that we need to make sure whenever we are starting our engagement with our different clients. And country to country, there are different data protection and compliances are required. So few names I have mentioned here like GDPR, HIPAA, and country to country there are different regulations that we need to make ourselves more familiar, so that we need to make sure that we follow. Now, even in India also, we have a data protection law that we need to make sure to follow. And when you are starting organization, first important aspect, have a data security tool. Second important aspect, have a regular data audit or a regular assessment from an independent agency so that your client can trust you. These two things are very much important. Without that, it is very difficult to get a trust from your client. Any query, Kapil? Because first part we have already completed.
Yeah, I am having two, three queries. What technology and software are essential for managing accounting, the operation, and client services in an international context?
So internationally, there are few softwares which are being normally preferred by different countries. Normally, the Zoho, Zero, QuickBooks, these are the softwares. Few of the Middle East countries are still using Tele also. So this is the plus point for us because we all are more familiar with the Tele versions. But if we go by the UK, US side or Australia side or any other side, so they are more preferring Zero, Zoho, and the QuickBooks.
One more query is there. How
Yeah,
can
please.
accountants leverage networking and professional associations to find and secure opportunities abroad?
Sir, as I said, there are different global networks where we can have a membership with these networks, and they are regularly um, uh, organizing few events. Like last 15th of May in London, the accountant event was happened. Like similarly, we had a Wakao international event. So the similar event happened for the accountants also. So in that type of the event, you can have a networking opportunities. Once you are attached with any of the global networking firm, there are different global networking firms. So you will get regular updates about the events which are happening all over the globe. And when you start attending all these events, you will get, attached with the global firms, other firms who are regularly attending the events, and gradually you will have a networking.
Right now, I will ask further as and when received.
Sure. Okay. So the next step come as a preparation of the effective outsourcing contract, because once you have an engagement with you, it is important to draft a effective outsourcing contract. And why I'm saying this, because there is a huge opportunities for all of us. If I talk about 2024, so this is something is statics for all of you, where market size is huge, growth is huge, and being an Indian CA, we have a huge opportunity in terms of cost effectiveness, in terms of strong technical skills. Our course has already given us a huge, strong technical skills base. The cultural affinity, we are somewhere more acceptable in terms of all the cultural aspect and the language skills. As I said, we are more familiar with all kind of the accent, and we generally very quickly observed everything. The estimated opportunity side, if I talk about, so based on side, if 10% capture rate, if also we see, so it's around 0.26 billions in 2024, which is very huge in terms of significant figures and for the expected growth in a market. So, when we are drafting a agreement and what kind of the opportunities, so first of all, for drafting an agreement, see what kind of the expertise you are providing. If it is a technical expertise that you are providing, so that we need to see, and accordingly we need to make sure that we should highlight the same in our agreement. And accordingly, you can make few pointers for your technical expertise, because there will be certain engagements where it will be for journal accounting aspect, and there will be certain engagement where your certain technical expertise you will be providing to your client. Second important aspect is quality assurance. This is something again important area which you can provide as a service to your client. I understand that we cannot provide a assurance service to other countries because we are not having an auditor license of that country. But the quality assurance service we can provide. We can review the financial statement as an independent reviewer, so that whosoever is signing, they can trust on our review part, or we can, provide our inputs. So that service also we can think about, and we can, make our engagement or our contract accordingly. Client advisory services, again something where traditional accounting tasks, more than, beyond traditional accounting advisory tasks, we can provide strategic advisory service, or maybe risk management, or a business consulting, or valuation, etc. These are few things that you can add upon. Technical integration, technology integration, this is something. Training and mentorship. Again, if you are very good in trainings, if you are very good in deliberation, you have a huge opportunity. Just a topic you need to pick up, and opportunities are waiting. Even now, when the Zoom meetings are open for us, the webinars are open for us, there is no need to travel to any abroad country. By sitting in your home country, you can provide a trainings, and you can be a expert of a particular subject. And the business development, so this is something, if someone is looking India as a growing country, which is actually a growing country, and they wanted to expand their business in India, so again we can be a good partner for that business, and we can help them to grow their business in India, and to make them understand how to run a business in a particular state. So like Rajasthan, Gujarat, Gift City, now we have a very good opportunities. These are the few areas where many of the MNCs are looking for the opportunities, and they wanted someone to help them to establish their business in a effective manner. So this is something, an engagement model that we can follow. First of all, client assessment. We need to do the client assessment first, that what exactly is their expectation, what they are expecting from us. Normally, in first step, what mistake we do, initially client come to us like, we want a accounting support from your side, whereas the expectation is they wanted us to draft a balance sheet as well. Accounting support and preparation of the financial statement, both are the different things. So we need to make sure that client understand that posting the accounting entries and preparation of the financial statement both are the different engagement and should not be considered as a one. So understand the client requirement in detail, make them understand that whether it is a one engagement or being considered as a two or three or four, and accordingly make your scope of work. Second, design risk management and estimate the proposal. Once you are clear with the client assessment, client requirement, then we need to design the scope of work that, okay, these are the requirement 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Risk management, what is the risk that is being involved? Normally in accounting advisory, there is no risk involved until unless you are somewhere part of any particular transaction. So normally there is very less risk if you are part of any particular transaction where any valuation engagement is there or any particular advisory is there. So in that case, risk management part also we need to see. And then accordingly, you need to estimate a proposal. Country to country, we need to be aware about the normal fee proposals that is being floated. So once you start working on a different regions, you will be aware about that what is the fee range is there. For example, if you ask me about US region, so that normal fee chart is available, which now we can share with everyone that this is something you can charge with the client for normal tax return filing, state return filing, or etc. Third step is once you have a clear understanding of the client assessment, you have designed the scope of work, risk management is there, you have estimated your costs, then we need to draft a service level agreement or an agreement contract. That contract should be very clear in terms of everything, all the terms and conditions, what will be the fee, what will be the governing part, what will be the legal jurisdiction, everything should be there. Then implementation, training, support, and service management. Once your service level agreement contract is being done, it is being signed by both the parties, executed by both the parties, then you start implementation part. You start with training, support, and service management. Engagement model can be on out of these three parts. One can be the offline accounting file, where a client will share the document with you by scan, email, or Google Drive or a Dropbox. They will also provide you the copy of the accounting software file. You will update the accounting software file on your machines, and then you will email again that file to the client or a backup of the accounting file, and they will restore the file on their computer, which is now generally not being used by any of the company. This is the old version which is being used years back, and when Zoho, Zero, these were not being in the market as a cloud-based system. Second is remote PC access, which is now still being used by the many of the companies, where as a consultant you will be connected to the client computer over the internet using remote softwares, maybe AnyDesk, TeamViewer, or secure VPN connection. Normally they prefer the secure VPN connection, where through your machine, if you are connected with their machine, you will not be access to your machine data anytime. Client will scan the source document to their computer so that you can access. They will also give you remote access to their accounting software, whatever the software they are using. And by using their accounting software, you can update the books and logs, whatever you want to update, and then you can log out. So in that case, whatever the work you are doing on their PC on a remote basis. There is no file which is on your PC, and it is most secured manner which is being preferred by the client. Third is online software, which is now being used by many of the clients, where like Zoho, Zero, which is cloud-based accounting softwares. So where just a sign-in is required on the software, and normally the document is being provided through Google Drive or a Dropbox, and based on the documentation, you normally post an entry on a software and make an entry and then just a log out. So normally they have their different login ID, you have your different login ID, and system is making a trail that which particular ID made an entry or which particular ID is having only a view right. When you are drafting a effective outsourcing contract, so these are the few key components that you need to take care. First, as I mentioned, scope of service. So that should be very clear that what is your scope of service. It is bookkeeping, payroll service, tax preparation, financial reporting, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the pointers is there, it should be very clear. Initially, and what I understand from my experience, you will make a mistake. Many times we will not understand that what exactly they are expecting, but later on, slowly from the mistakes we understand, and we made a clarity with the client that by this scope of service, these are the list of services which we are going to perform. Then SLA is something which gives the KPIs also, and the KPIs is the milestones that by this time we are going to perform this task, by this time we are going to this. It is kind of the metrics, which is what will be the response time, what will be the accuracy rate, what will be the turnaround time, what will be the availability of the service. So for example, if you are writing that whatever the emails we are receiving, we will be reverting the email within 24 hours, so that we need to take care. So be careful whatever you are writing in your SLA agreement. If you think that you will take a 48 hours to revert any particular email, write 48 hours. Do not write 24 hours. If you think that we should write that it is a 5 day a week in terms of working, so write clearly that it is a 5 day a week. Be clear about working days. So wherever you mention, how many days a turnaround time. So write it is a 2 working days turnaround time, 3 working days turnaround time. Because if you forgot to mention working days, they will include Saturday and Sunday also. But if you are mentioning the working days, that means if they are sending any email on Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday will not be included in turnaround time, and accordingly your days will be considered. Third is pricing and payment terms. So that again, we should be very clear that how we are going to be billing, what will be the tax liabilities and everything. As I mentioned, a particular case that we should be very clear that whatever the fees we are quoting, it is excluding all the taxes and other out of pocket expenses, which is we are having. If you want to add your infrastructure cost, for example, your resource cost, your laptop cost, or maybe any accounting software cost, so that you can mention separately in our engagement service level agreement. Any question, Kapil?
Wait a second, ma'am. I will check. What are the cultural considerations and business equities that accounting firms should be aware in different countries?
Sorry, I'm not able to get you.
What are the cultural considerations that accounting firms should be aware in different countries?
See, country to country, we need to understand that what exactly they follow. For example, if I talk about USA, so they are very specific about their time zone and their timing working hours. They do not prefer any
Okay.
email after working hours. Whereas if I talk about Middle East, so they are very specific about their holidays or something like that. Whenever it is happening. So that cultural acceptance should be there. And what I understand from my experience, we being an Indian are very acceptable to the same.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, as and when questions are there, I will ask more questions.
So next is documentations related to the export entrepreneurship, because here now we are exporting our entrepreneurship to the other countries. So what things that we need to take care being an organization. So first thing is cross-border compliances. So as an accounting outsourcing firm, we need to see that what kind of the cross-border compliances we need to take care. So that list should be there, that this is the Indian compliances that we need to take care with respect to the export entrepreneurship. And this is the particular country where we are exporting our services, compliances we need to take care. So that list and the differences in the legal framework, tax regimes, data privacy laws, their cultural norms across the countries, we should take care. Second important aspect, data privacy and the security regulations. So as I said, country to country, we need to understand what is their data protection and privacy laws, regulations. Accordingly, we need to draft our all the agreements. We need to make sure that we are taking care of all the regulations whenever we are entering with any agreement with any of the client, because if any failure happened with respect to the protection of the data privacy, probably that can be very heavy on us. So that we need to see, because now these days regulatory fines or legal liabilities on the data privacy is more rather than on other statutory compliances or legal compliances. Apart from that, regulatory reporting obligations, because you are exporting your services to the particular country. So in that case, with your home country, you also need to see if there are any compliances, any return which you need to file to the respective country or not. If there is particular compliance that you need to file with the respective country, so that filing timelines, records, everything you need to take care, because every country is having a different regulations. There are countries where even AML part also having a quarterly visit to your offices to review your audit files or your consultancy files. So whatever the compliances countries needs to make sure, countries regulations are having, you need to make sure that you are keeping all documents ready. Whenever the ministry people are coming, you are, all documents are available to make present them, to let them understand that this is something available for them for review, and whatever the queries they are raising, you are replying them on a their sufficient level. A few challenges that we need to address in our outsourcing services. So one is the confidentiality risk, which is most important. And through privacy and security concerns, as I mentioned, we can take care of that part. Communication challenge, language barrier or a time zone. So again, this is something we need to take care, and it may impact. So what I understand that you and me can manage this, because ultimately we are the owner of the organization, but we also need to make sure that our team is also competent enough to manage this challenge, because ultimately the challenge comes from the team side itself. It is not from your side or my side that we are not able to communicate effectively. It is from the team side where they are not able to communicate properly with the requirements, properly with the things that we need to execute. So that we need to make sure that our team communicate properly, effectively. If any training is required for the team, so that we need to make sure that whenever we are inducting a new team, we make sure that these trainings should be mandatory for all before starting or any engagement, or before adding them in a team. Quality control. So this is something here we need to think about seriously, because when I said as a KPO why someone will prefer us, because of the process standardization, so that we can only achieve if we are controlling the quality. So we need to maintain the quality. We need to ensure that we are maintaining all the documentation as and when requested, we are providing to the client. Then only it will be successful. Ethical and the regulatory concerns. So this is something challenging, because whenever you are thinking to start it, just pick one or two countries, because if you think that it will be multi countries, so that will be difficult. And for a single person, it is difficult to manage different countries. So start with one country, Once you have a good hold of that country, then only move to other country. And effectively, if you want to work, not go beyond 3 or 4 countries, because with your home countries, what my personal opinion, you can manage 3 or 4 countries only. If more countries you will add in your kitty, it will be difficult for you to manage all the time zone, all ethical requirements, or a regulatory concern on your own stuff. So that is something you need to manage, or you should have a very good team under you who is taking care of different country zones requirement, because now every country is having a different time. Like if I talk about European country, which is we have not discussed it, European countries are having a completely different environment or a culture. They are completely different. And even talk about standards, they do not follow IFRS or any other particular standard. They say we will have our own set of standard and we will not follow any other particular global standard. So if I follow the European countries, if I want to expand my business in a European countries, I need to have a separate set of skills. I need to have a separate standard that, competencies. And that is completely different from other global standards. So that clarity we should have. Skills and training, so that upgradation regularly in a team is required, because it's a completely changing uh, dynamics. As in India, we see that regularly our regulations are changing, laws are changing, similar in a pattern. Globally, also, it is regularly being changed. Things are moving very fast, things are dynamically very changing. So, that upgradation training to our team is required to be imparted on a regular basis. So this is the last example from my side, and then I think we can take more questions. So in terms of opportunities, just a very small example, how normally it started. Walmart, I think we all know that what is the Walmart and why we consider it as a huge and big. So they outsource their accounting services. And whom they outsource their accounting services? Any idea? So they outsource their accounting services to Genpact. And when they outsource their accounting services to Genpact, their words in one of interview is that this partnership will further accelerate our digital transformation and unlock the potential savings for the reinvestment in innovation and growth. And it was like when we are outsourcing this, it is something we are saving huge money on infrastructure part and the people part, because partnership with Genpact, they onboarded over 500 professional accountant through outsourced people, where they do not want any huge infrastructure to let them sit and work. It is being taken care by Genpact. They have taken care everything in terms of the accounting part. Cost effective was there. They were taking care that who is going, who is coming, how to execute, how is not effective. So they do not require any fancy building. They do not require any office space like Walmart, because Walmart is having own benchmark. So if they are hiring people, the same benchmark they need to follow. But if they outsource the accounting function, it is not required to follow the same benchmark. So this is something, an example which probably may attract us more, that how outsourcing. And now we all know the name of Genpact. It's a huge name in the market, which is a giant in terms of the outsourcing. So this is something from my side. Anything, any questions from Kapil from your side?
Some more queries are there.
Yeah, please.
Someone has asked, what are different networking firms? Please elaborate bit more.
So there are n number of the firms, like networking. We all know Big Six, Big Four. Apart from that, MGI, Crown, and just search on the Google global networking firms. You will get a list. Because if I name few more, so that will be more.
Yeah, yeah. other question is that as a practicing CA from tier 2 cities, how can we find such foreign clients? How should we approach them?
So to approach that, networking is most important. You need to
Yeah,
meet people.
yeah.
So you need to at least out for the networking, come for the events, meet people, because without meeting people, it is very difficult to let them know that this is something you can provide as a service. If
Uh,
I'm not visible to you, how you will let me, let you know about
yeah,
me.
yeah. Next question is that how do you ensure data security and privacy compliance when handling international clients' financial information? I think this is covered during our session.
Yeah, so that data security audit, you can have a agreement with the client. You can have a data security system within your organization. So
Yeah.
these measures you need to take care.
Right. I will check some more questions are there or not. Uh, how can accountants leverage networking and professional associations to find and secure opportunities abroad? Same replies there. I think networking will be there.
बाहर
I
निकल
have,
के
I,
मिलना पड़ेगा सबसे.
yeah, वही है. सारे क्वेश्चंस जो थे मैंने कवर कर लिए हैं आपसे, जो भी क्वेश्चंस मेरे को मिले थे. Wait, I will check some other questions are there. Yeah, all questions have been covered.
Anything from your side, Kapil, if you want to ask?
My query has been asked by all members. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thank you so much for this wonderful session and much delightful session for opportunity abroad. We
So
are high.
actually, this is something not a new area, but now what I understand that all started accountants are trying to explore new
Yeah,
avenues. So that is the reason everyone wants to know that how we can explore that. The only
and
key is you need to meet the people, you need to uh, be active on a different platforms. Then only you will be knowing that this is something opportunity which is available.
in present scenario, networking is much important for any type of task. Yeah,
Most important.
yeah. Thanks a lot, ma'am, for such a delightful and wonderful session. We are highly obliged with your words of wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you. So, if there is no query, I think we can wrap up, or if you want, we
Yeah,
can wait for 2 to 5 minutes more. Up to
I
you.
will check. I will check some queries there or not. No, all questions have been covered by our end. Okay, ma'am. We may wrap up now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.